Okay, we're up to Vav Amid base. Vav Amid base when the sugya of Hezek Re'iyah, and interesting cases tonight, like halacha l'maisa cases of interesting. So we are 2 lines from the bottom on Vav Amid base. Hanu Beitrei, there were these 2 brothers. Rashi learns 2 brothers who inherited. Davidare, they were living Chad Avidare Eloi, V'chad Avidare Tatoi. Similar to Bais Valiyah, they were living in a duplex. They were living in a duplex, but as opposed to Bais where it broke down, over here it's not going to break. Over here it's going to go ahead, Rod, and it's going to sink. And it break. But if you look at the Dalid in the Bach has a different girsa. He's goes itfis. Itfis seems to mean that it begins to sink. Rashi says it sinks. So itfu to toy. So the bottom one began to sink, and it's made unhospitable for the bottom person to live there because his roof was not that high, and his opening of his house was not that high. So Amalei Tatoila Eloi said the brother who was living in the bottom, the one who was living on top, hey, Vinivne, let's go, let's rebuild. Let's rebuild. Some Amalei. So what did the brother say? I know Shapaka there now. I'm doing fine. As a matter of fact, I don't have to walk up so high anymore, right? I'm doing God's fine. I know. I guess there wasn't much brotherly love here, Dr. Press, right? It's not going on over here. There wasn't much brotherly love. So Amalei, so he told him, Abnaya Anna, I'll build it. So he said, in other words, it won't cost you anything. I'll knock down the house. I'll build it. So the guy who lived above said, Leslie, duchte lemeidabo. I don't have a place to live. So Amalei, so the bottom brother said, I'll go ahead and rent you a place. Amalei, so the top guy said, I don't want to trouble myself. I don't want to trouble myself to empty out the house. Okay, I don't want to. So he said, look, another gersa change over here. So Amalei loikot misadali. He goes, I can't live. So he says, I can't live there. So the bottom guy said to the top guy, I can't live there. So again, this lacking brotherly love, the top guy said to the bottom guy, Shuf akros reisach, go bow down on your stomach, v'oil, the shuf akros boil. Go in on your stomach and out on your stomach. You'll manage. So Amar Chama says Rav Chama, Bedina Kama Akiv, that the halacha is with the upper guy. The halacha is with the upper guy. He can be ma'akiv to building of the house. He can be ma'akiv the building of the house. That says Rav Chama again. Names are important. Rav Chama says Bedina Kama Akiv. That's provided that his beam of the upper one does not descend into the lower one. Okay, now what's the reason you can't demolish the house? Is because the tachton is meshubit to support the elyon. In other words, his house is meshubit to go ahead and support it. So therefore, you can't knock it down and take away his shibud. That's only what if it remains a dira for the bottom guy. Once it gets below 10 tefachim, no longer is it a dira and no longer is it meshubit. Guys, again, the lumdis behind this. The bottom is meshubit for the top. The top needs something to rest upon. So therefore, you can't knock it down because you're meshubit to me and I'm doing fine. However, once he descends below to the area where it's not a house anymore because it's then you don't have no shibud, then you can. And that's the lashon of that's the lashon. So therefore, then he could go ahead and knock it down. And that's what he says. And this din that Rav Chama said, by the Hani Mili, this din that Rav Chama said, Leimoti kishuri lamata me'asara, that the beams of the upper one does not go below a 10 fachim. Avamate kishuri lamata me'asara. If the beams go ahead and they descend below 10, matzi amalei lamata me'yud rishusidi v'le'mishtabed lach. Right. Less than 10 is my rishus, and it's not mishubit to you, and therefore I can knock it down.
Just the way to creep in, or that's where he's living. He's living in less than 40 inches. And that's
it seems. Yeah, that's what it seems. It seems 10 tefachim. It seems to be you can manage. In a sukkah, right? A sukkah. What's the minimal share of a sukkah? Don't look at him. Don't let him intimidate you.
I'm just wondering about him.
Wow. Okay, I gotta go now.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, right. The honey mealy, right? The honey mealy that the lower guy can not force the upper guy to go ahead, relieve and knock down the house. They didn't make at the time when they divided up. Again, Rashi said at the time of the Chalukah, they didn't make any condition that if the aliyah begins to descend and to knock down the whole thing. If they made it tonight, then what? Then you can go ahead, what? You can knock it down.
Is he bechuv to give him anything if he knocks it down? If it's lower, does bechuv?
No, just he'd rent them at place. He said. If the din is, can he knock it down when he mechuyev? I don't think so.
He has to knock it down for him too.
Right? Yeah, I don't think so. In other words, if he does him a favor, then he'd have to pay rent. The upper guy does him a favor. But if the halacha is that you knock it down, why do you have a duchsif there that what? That he has to pay him? Even when what?
If it's below the 10, 12.
What? No, I'm saying does once you knock it down, halachically you can knock it down. Does he have to pay him? Do you have to give rent?
Invaded my space and rendered my apartment useless. You must share the expense of demolishing and reconstructing the building. Duchsif.
Okay, we're not talking about that. We're talking about does he have to pay the rent for another place?
No, we're not talking about the rent.
They also have an apartment too.
Huh?
Upstairs guys also have an apartment.
Yeah. Okay, once the halacha is that you can knock it down, the upper guy has to go ahead, right? And so for Shteitzer, he doesn't have to pay his rent then. For Shteitzer, he doesn't have to pay his rent. Okay, that was case number one. What's the and how much? Ama ad kama. How the aliyah had that it goes down, and you can force the elyon to go ahead and knock it down. So Amar Rabbana Kamei de Rabba Mishmei de Mazutra Berei Rav Nachman Dama Mishmei de Rav Nachman Kaises Shaninu regarding the Beis Hamikdash. Roi Moi Kechatzi Archoi Ukechatzi Rachboi. The height is the amount of half of the length and half of the width. So let's say the Beis Hamikdash was 40 by 20. So the height was half of that was at 60, half is 30. So over here also, that would be the height. And they're saying that, and they're saying in the name of Rav Nachman. So Amalu Rabba said, Rabba, Lavamina Lechu, did I not tell you, Rabba said, Lavamina Lechu, did I not tell you, like Tislu Be Buke Siriki Rav Nachman. Don't go ahead and hang empty bottles on Rav Nachman. It's a lashon of, it's not Rav Nachman didn't say that. Hachiyam Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said, he didn't say the length plus the width equals is half the height. Here's what he said. The diary inshi, like people live. The kama, how do people live? I'm Rav Huna, Rav Yeshua, ki heiche the aile is Isruyasa, the Mechuza, the Hadar. It seems that they had these reeds in Mechuza that you're able to go into the apartment, guys, turn around the east, west, north, south, and if that didn't hit the ceiling, that would be the share. Now the Ritva points out that this was the share at the time for them, but anyone at the Kfi, their minig or that Makayim, it would be that. So Lav Dafka in New York City, would you go ahead and have to get a read from a chuzah and go check that out? You know, you have normal things that. I'm sorry to rain on your parade, Tov, but normal.
That's why I didn't leave you.
Yeah. Ahu Gavra, there was this guy. He was building a wall facing the windows of his friend. In other words, he was going to go ahead and cut the lights out on his friend. Amalei. So his friend said, "Come my fellow Salai." Amalei sachar milcha. So he goes, he said, "You know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to go ahead, close up the windows you have now, and I'll build in your wall, up at the wall, I'll build other windows. Amalei kamaris le lishoy. You're going to go ahead and weaken my wall. Once you start hacking the wall, you're going to weaken the wall. So Amalei, so I said, I'll knock down the wall to the place of the windows. You know, it's I won't just build, I'll knock it down to the windows and Amalei Ashisa mitata atiko umalel charata, a wall that below is old and above is new, like Jaime. Rashi says the plaster doesn't adhere so well. So Amalei Sasranallah ad la'ara, I'll go ahead and knock down the whole wall, ubeninalei, vavdinalach kave begava, and I'll put windows in. So Amalei choda ashisa, a new wall, chadasa bekula besa atika, a new wall, choda ashisa chadata, one new wall, Bikula Besa Atika, in a house that the other walls are old, like Jaime. So in other words, this is not going to work. So Amalei Sasranale Lakula Besa, I'll knock down the whole house, and I'll put in windows. So Amalei Leslie Duchle Lemeda, but I don't have a place to live. So Amalei Agirna Lacha Duchte, I'll rent for you a place. This guy really wanted this wall, huh? Because I'll rent for you a place, right? I'll rent for you a place. So Amalei Lo Terachna, I don't want to be Matriach. Some Rav Chama, again, this is the name of Rav Chama, who's been saying this so long, but didn't come ma'akiv, right? The person, bedini could be ma'akiv him. Says Hainu Hach, that's the exact same thing. But Sulamali, what are you adding? What's this case adding that the other one not tell me? Kamashpalon, the Afagov Lemishtamshi Elativnu Beit Sivi. Even if this house that had windows in it, he was only using it for storage, he wasn't using it for living, Balma, you could go ahead and stop him. That's the Chiddush here. Or a warehouse, right? Even if he was only using it as a warehouse, right? You could stop him from putting up that wall. Even if he was only using again as a warehouse, you could go ahead and stop him from putting up that wall. Okay, Rav Avi, we're up to Zion Amid Aleph and the first wide line at the end of the line. Okay, Hani Beitrei. Achi, there was two brothers, the Palgi Bahadadi. They would divide up the property. Chad Matya Aspalida. One got an Aspalida. Oskal Tights did a mansion. Look at Taisus, guys. Aspalida in the middle of Taisus says Mefarish Ri. The Aspalida, the Hacha, Haviach Sadra. It's a type of portico. It's a type of open area. Sheyesh ba'oire gedoyla. It has got a lot of light. Sheprutza beruach echad. That's it's on one side. It's totally open. Kedamina b'layachbar. So we're dealing with some type of building, some type of building that has a lot of light. Okay, so and it's not cheap. It's not cheap. So they divided it up. One person got the aspalida, the chad mater tarbitza, and one guy got the garden. One guy got the garden, one guy got what the building with light or a mansion. It would appear that the one got the building got the better of the deal, which is going to come into play as we see. So azalahu the mater tarbitza, the kabani ashisa umid. So the one who got the garden went ahead and he built the wall and the opening of the aspalida, cutting down the light. Some lay come out, fell us a light. I built on my own property. I built on my own property. Rashi says, guy, this is important. You don't have upon me a chazaka of light for 3 years. We only divided up now. In other words, if you're used to living there with this light, a guy comes along, he can't just build a wall. Your next door neighbor, you've been living in a house for years and years and years and years. Your next door neighbor going to build a wall and cut your light. You have a chazaka for that light. But over here, clearly the brothers just divided up, so there's no chazaka for the light. So that's what he was telling him. You can't stop me. I'm building it on my property, and you haven't been there long enough to be machzik that you have this light. So I'm Rav Chama, again, Rav Chama comes to play. But didn't come alay. He told him the right thing, that you can't build it. You can't build it. Somewhere Ravina Ravashi. Maishna mehad Tanya, Shnei Achim Shacholku, Ech mehem natal sada kerem, the Ech mehem natal sada lavan. One takes what? A keren. One takes a keren, and one takes what? I'm sorry, guys. I said the wrong thing. He could build a wall. He could build a wall. He could. Rav Chama bedin ka'amalei. The one who said, "I'm building on my property, and you have a chazaka of our." Right? So he could build a wall. I'm sorry. Okay? He said he could build a wall. So the Mad Gemara wants to know the following. One takes a vineyard, and one takes what? A field of grain. Now, by now we know But when you have a vineyard, you have to leave how many amas around the vineyard for the shvarim? 4 amas, because it's called avodas hakerem. You have to leave it around. So now they divided it up, and they were next to each other. This guy who got the kerem gets 4 amas in the field of the steilavan. Not that he owns it, but he has rights to use it to go ahead and schlep his shvarim around there. Yeah. In other words, you own it; it's yours. But when my shvarim, I need to go ahead and harvest, right? I have rights to go there. So now, yeshle lebala kerem dal ramis besad lavan. He has the rights. He has right. This is the Ritva says he has the rights to go ahead and use it. Shalmanas kein cholku. That was the terms of their division. So over here also, why didn't he say the terms of the division were that I need light, right? We divided it up, and I need light. Amalei hasam the alu lahadadi. There they were equal. The steilavan and the kerem were equal. Aval hacha ma'idlei alu hadadi, right? They're not equal. Are we dealing with fools? The hashakal espalid, the hashakal tabitza. One guy's going to take this nice structure, and the other person's going to get a garden, right? It must be the Bala Splida certainly paid the Bala Agina for the difference, and he wants an illuminated Aspalida. So why can't he do that? In other words, Gemara's asking a kasha, fellas. What's the difference over there that this guy he could go ahead and use it? He can go ahead, right, and use it, right? She was able to use it. So why over here? Why over here can he not go ahead, Rod, and stop him from building the wall? I think so, because after all, we're not dealing with a fool. He must have paid him off. Good, he paid him off. That's libnei kshure v'dure. It's the value of the beams and v'hudre, nice beams. But the space around the space over there. In other words, the kasher is just like by Avodas HaKerem when he walked around. And he was on his property over here. So good, it's on your property, but still, I should be able to go ahead and stop you. I have a right. Initially, it was an aspalida, and now you're making it into an andrunya, is a dark room. And I wanted what? I want an aspalida. I gave you money for an aspalida. Let's go with Taisus Pshat. I gave you money for an area, a structure that's very airy and very bright. That's what aspalida is, right? What did the Taisus say? Or gadol coming out of one place. So now, this is not what our division was. By you going ahead and giving me and covering it up, that's not our division. So good, you built it on your property, and good, I don't have cheskas oira. But while we divide it up, it's not an aspalida. Let's change the name. It's not an aspalida by its name is an airy light place. This is not an aspalida. That's the word's kashan. So I'm not seeing Rashi shmo ba'alma polikle. He just gave him a name, and even if it's not what. In other words, we had this Gemara above Mitzvah, guys. If it sounds familiar, Milay Tanya, Oima base kur off ani ma'ichlacha. Base kur is 30 saw. Afa pisha ene elalasach, even though it's only 15. Higia shleimachal el shma. He didn't sell him a volume. He sold him a name. V'udi miskari base kur, provided that's called base kur. In other words, that's its name, fellas. The name is base kur, even though a base kur is 30 saw. If it's a lesech, it's still called base kur. Pardes ani ma'ichlacha. Right? I'm selling you a pardis. Even though it doesn't have what? Pomegranates. Higia, the deal's done. Pardis, provided it's called pardis. It's called karma. So over here also, what's your kasher is it's not long as aspalida. It's called an aspalida. You sell them a name. Says me, Dami, how can you compare the two cases? There the Meichel can say, I sold you what? I sold you this. It was a sale. I sold you a paradise. It's called a paradise. I just never remind him, you bought a paradise. I sold you a base core. It's only a lesser half of that amount. It's called a base core. But over here, Hacha Matziyamalei Adaiti the hachi palge did the inube, right? Kihechi did the daru avasan. I want to live in the Espelida the same way Daddy did. There's no sale over here. It's Yerusha. So in other words, you're telling me that what it's still cold in Espelida even though it's dark. I want this live in this portico. I want to live in this bright, airy place the same way Daddy did, or Abba, or Tati, whatever, or Daddy. Okay. So Amalei, I'm in base. Amalei Maryanuko Markshisha. Berei the Rav Chisda the Rav Ashi. Nadoy Tamayu. Nadoy go according to the reasoning. Dam Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel Achen Shecholku Ein Lahem Loy Derech Zeh Al Zeh. Two brothers that divide, they don't have one derech on another derech. In other words, Rashi, this guy takes one field, this guy takes another field, and they can't walk through the fields. They and the windows to go ahead and they can't complain that to close this window, or to put a ladder up in a chutzner, nor water on zezeh. And those Tosfos points out this is all when they sell ba'ayin, they sell ba'ayin yafa. They go ahead, they sell ba'ayin, you sell ba'ayin yafa. So when you sell it and you divide up, it's a complete division. So you have nothing there. So who did over here when the brothers divided up, this person had nothing there. And this is the Nadoy Tamayu. Rav Amma and Rabbi says, and the Hesiru ben, and be careful, Shalachas Kavur Hain. Rav Amma Yeshla, and Rabbi disagrees, and he says they do have, because they could sell ba'ayin raw, and therefore when they divide it up, they do have rights. Now, just for very interesting, for bloggable stakes, Mar Yenuka, Mar Kashisha. Let's see who they are. They are the sons of Rav Chisda. So, guys, Yenuka means young, Kashisha means old. So you would think Yenuka is the younger one, and Kashisha is the older one. But now that I told you that, you know it's not true, right? So Tosfos tells you the lineage over here. Mar Yenuka, who agadol? The younger one was the older one. He was born when Rav Chisda was young. So therefore he's called Mar Yenuka, the master of the young. Umar Kashisha, who at Soyer? Mar Kashisha, literally the old, is the younger one. The Noile Kashisha Rav Chisda, and he was born when Rav Chisda was old. So each one, Mar Yenuka, Mar Kashisha, is not going on their ages, guys. It's taka going on Rav Chisda's ages. Okay, anyway, Ahushtara the Yasme, the Nafik Le Tavra. A father died, he left the Shtar Halva, he left the Shtar Halva, and that he was owed money. Now, the person, the loiva, shows up with a shiver, with a receipt saying was paid up. It's speaking now, you had Adim, when the father was Taiveya, he did not produce the shaver. So guys, so here's what happened, guys. Look, guys, outside, guys, eye contact. Shimon goes ahead and he goes to Ruvain and he says, "Where's my money? Where's my money?" And he says, "Nothing. Now comes the kids and they're saying what? They're saying, "Where's the father's money?" And they're saying what? He's got a shaver. Ruvain produces a shaver that was paid up. What would you say the din is? That's the case. Ahushtar, this really happened. The Ahushtar, the Yasmi, the Nafigala Tavra, that came out, they produced a receipt. Rav Chama, again, we're bringing this in because of the constant I pointed out, Rav Chama. Rav Chama, he can't collect. In other words, they can't collect the chayv. But they can rip up the shaver. They can't collect the chayv, the nafik chavra Allah, because the guy has a receipt. But we're not going to rip up the shtar. The chigodli yasmi, when they get older, dilma maisi raya umarale. Maybe they'll bring a raya and they'll say that the shtar was mezuyif, not that the shaver was mezuyif. So mikra karina means we're not going to rip up the shtar, guys, not the receipt. Again, it's speaking in a case where there's Adim that their father made a claim and they didn't produce a shaver. So it's a reyes in the shaver. Guys, Stamasa, if you have a shaver with Adim signed on it, of course you're going to believe the shaver, you're going to believe the receipt. Over here, there's a reyes to say maybe it's mezuyah, because when the father made the claim, he didn't say anything. So Amalei Rav Acha Brei the Rav Ravina Hilchas Amai. What's the halacha? Amalei. So Ravina said for Rav Acha Brei the Rava the Kula Hilchas Rav Chama. The halacha is like Rav Chama Levar Mitavra, except with the last case. Anything we said until now, the previous cases, the halacha is like Rav Chama, except this case of the receipt that we're not going to collect with it. The Sadi b'Shakri loy mechaskinon, right? Because we're not going to say they lied, and therefore we'll rip up the star of the milva. Masucha the Rav Mari Amar b'hanami hilchas Rav Chama, and this the halacha is Rav Chama also. We leave it as a status quo. We don't rip up the star. We don't rip the shaver. The Misa the Tavram Al Yahavi was a good shaver. He boiled afuke b'chai avuan. They should have gone ahead and produced it when the father was Taiveya. And we didn't produce it, right? That it's a forgery. It's a forgery. Okay? So you have to say the possibility is that he paid him off from the time of they paid him off when he died. Then he would have gotten it back. It says the Mishnah. Kaifin I say live nice base shar videlis. Okay, we're speaking about going back to our originally scheduled program. We're speaking about maybe forcing a wall in the middle of the chutzner, and speaking about the fields we could force or can't force in Kina. So now you have a chutzner. The chutzner goes into a mavui, and at the end of the mavui you have a beis shar. The beis shar is open to the Rishus Harabim, and it's a guardhouse. So Kaifin I saw you can force him to build a guardhouse, videlis l'chutzner, and a delis for the chutzner. You could force this. That you're able to go ahead and force. Right, Rashi says, "Kaifin Isayas ben Chutzner shein roitzel Isayas b'nei Chutzner." They don't want to help. You can force them live lois lehem beishar. Liyay shaymer haPesach yoshev sham, that the securities should sit there. B'tzeil in the shade. Umarchik es b'nei Rishus Harabim milachatzis bechutzner, and distance b'nei Rishus Harabim from looking into the chutzner. Again, hezek re'iyah. Guys, remember, even if you're hezek re'iyah lo yishmei hezek, that's by a yochid. Guys, by a rabim. Guys, remember. Hezek Re'iyah by Rabbim is Shmei Hezek. It's only where it's not Hezek the Rabbim. We brought this Gemara in. If it sounds familiar, we brought it in earlier in the Sugya. We like the Madiyam, but Hezek Re'iyah Loi Shmei Hezek. We brought this in, and the answer was Hezek the Rabbim is different than Hezek the Yachid, because here you're putting up a wall that they should not be able to look in. Reb Shimon Gamliel Leimer Loi Kol Chatzeres Uyas LeBeis Shar. Not every Chatzer is Roy for Beis Shar. In other words, the Gemara will explain. If a person living in a city and they want to build a security wall around the city, you can force the person with a sayim and a door for the city, ubriach and locks for the city. Not all cities are roy for a chayma, and so it would depend if it is or not. How long would a person have to be in the city to be considered a member of the city that you can charge him to pay for the wall? So it's you're basically 12 months. However, if he buys a house there, that immediately by buying a house, that would make you what? A member of the city, which make a lot of sense, right? 12 months is where you're renting. You're not a member of the city. But if you buy a house right away, then you're a member of the city. Okay. Now, it's mashma that Beis Shar is a good thing, right? That you build it, you force the guy to put up a Beis Shar. Guys, why are you forcing him to put up Beis Shar? Obviously, it must be a good thing to have a Beis Shar, to have security. So remember the Beis Shar mal yusahi. V'ahu chasida, there was this pious individual. Davi Rogel Eliyahu, the Havi Mishtoi Badei. He was roy for Gili Eliyahu. Eliyahu Navi would see him all the time. So of the Beis Shar, he made a Beis Shar, V'sula Mishtoi Badei. That was it. So you see, it's a bad thing. Now, what's wrong? Let's see Rashi. V'lo Yishtoi Behadei, and he stopped coming. L'fishem mafsik be'aniyim hatzayakim, because the Beis Shar is a mafsik. It's a barrier to the poor people that are crying out. The ein koilam nishma, and you're not going to hear. In other words, by putting out the Beis Shar, it's going to be a blockage for aniyim collecting tzedakah. So before the Beis Shar was up there, he was all the time. As soon as it stopped, Eliyahu is not going to come to a person who go ahead and be involved in withholding tzedakah from aniyim. So do you see that? See the Beis Shar is a bad thing. I'm Mishnah, guys. Again, what's the stira? Our Mishnah says kaif noisai. What does kaif noisai mean? It's a good thing. You force him. Yeah, we see from the mice of the chassid by Eliyahu Hanavi that no, it's a bad thing, because Eliyahu, as soon as they put up the Beis Shar, Eliyahu stopped seeing the guy. And Rashi explains why, because now, as a result of Beishar, the cries of the Aniyim will not be heard. Says Gemara like Kasha. It's not a problem. If you put it on the inside the chutzner, then it's not a good thing because you have like a double wall, the outside wall, and there, and therefore the aniyim won't be able to get in, and you can't. But mibroi, if it's on the outside, then it's not. If it's on the outside of the chutzner, Rashi says einay mafsek b'fanav shari nichnas esaychot because they go inside, and it's speaking where there's no door. So guys, so if it's in the inside where they're not able to go into the chutzner, then it's not good. If it's on the outside, they can go into the Beishar and be heard in the chutzner. So this person who speaks to Eliyahu obviously must have built the Beishar in the inside. Vibai is saying another distinction. Hava ha-mebroi, it's supposed to speak in the outside, like kasha, hadis leidelis, hadles leidelis. When is it a good thing? When it doesn't have a door. When is it a bad thing? When it has a door. Ibai is saying a third teretz. Hava hadis leidelis, it has a door of like kasha. Hadis leipesachis, it has a lock. Hadles leipesachis. If it has a lock, it's no good. If it doesn't have a lock, it is good. Ibai is saying hava hadis leipesachis, like kasha. Had besachis didam megavoy, had besachis didam mebroi. The opening. If the opening of Pesachis is to the outside, then it's good because they can get in. I don't know what kind of lock that is. If the opening on the inside, then not. So you have 4 different terutzim to go ahead and explain when it's good and when it's not good. So our Mishnah must be speaking where it's not going to be an impediment for the aniyim. It's either speaking where it's on the outside, or it's speaking there's a door, there's no door, or it's speaking there's a door but there's a lock. Okay. Koifner said libnei space shar udelis l'chatzer. Tanya Reb Shimon said not every chatzer. Tanya Brisa Reb Shimon Leimer. Not all chatzerim are right for a Beishar. Elachatza smuch l'rishus harabim ru'y leBeishar. U'sheina smuch l'rishus harabim ein ru'y leBeishar. So picture this, guys. You have the rishus harabims here. You have a mavui, and you have a chatzer over here, chatzer over here, chatzer over here, chatzer over here. Those are the ones that are they're near the rishus harabim. So they would need a Beishar, but the other one's not. So in other words, like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, you only forced to pay the people who need it, the one who are closest to the Rishus Harabim. Rabbanon, who say that everyone zimnin the dochi ben Rishus Harabim by Eliva. So you know what? If you don't have a Beishar, it's going to be crowded with Rishus Harabim and get pushed in. So even the members of the inner chutzner are going to have a problem. So security is a good thing. We said you could force them to build a wall around the city. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel said not all walls. Not all cities need a wall. If it's near that's near the frontier, it's near the border of Eretz Yisrael. I guess near the border you have to worry about invasions. Rabbanon, that even the cities that are not near the border, Zimna the Mikri the guy said they'll invade and they'll come in and you'll. When they go ahead and they collect from the people of the city. Lefina Fashas Goivin, that they go according to the people in the house, or the wealth. So it depends. If it's a wealthy guy, if they're coming for money, then the guy who has money would have to pay more. If it's coming for what? For to kill people, then the people who have bigger families. Samalei lefi mamin gavayim. The laws of Beni Kava ba Mismairis says Rabbi Yochanan to his son Rabbi Lazar that Kava b'mismairis, go ahead and nail it. In other words, you always go according to what? The mammon. Ikadi boy mine Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Yochanan kishen goivin the fikir of bat me goivin that he goes the one that's closest to the wall outside of the city. I don't lefi mammon goivin. Amalei lefikir of bat me goivin. The Lazar b'ni Kava b'mismairis. That you go etching stones. The one that are closest to the wall, right? Would have to pay more. I will stop over here.